everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Rumcast for 2023. I am John Gulla, and with me co-hosting this podcast is Will Hookinga, and today we are going to be going over our predictions from last year, and then making some new ones for this year as well. So Will, have you started off the new year with a bang, and how do you feel about us going over your predictions from last year?
If starting the new year with a bang is just, going back to work and living life as usual, I've totally started it with a bang, John. Things are going nuts up here in Nashville right now. No, it's business as usual, but it's been a good start. And, I got to say, I was a little nervous about revisiting some of these 2022 predictions because I think I kind of remembered mine, but I wasn't entirely sure. And so I went back and I listened to our episode, and I got to say, I was focused mostly on my own predictions because I was like, I've got to keep score for my own picks. I'll leave John to keep score for his. I got to say, I feel pretty good about my picks. I'm feeling pretty good. And that gave me maybe it gave me a little too much confidence for these 2023 predictions that we're going to be making. I've got, 3 more of those. Last year we each did 3. This year we're each going to do 3. But I don't know. Did you go back? Did you listen to the episode back? How did you feel as you listened to those predictions now with the benefit of hindsight?
Yeah, so I kind of quickly went through them because I don't. First of all, I don't really like listening to myself. I don't know why. But secondly, is I was a little scared. I kind of felt like I wasn't really sure how close I would get, and wanted to. I'm curious, but I'm also
you knew I was going to hold you accountable. That's what you were afraid of.
I mean, I hope you hold me accountable with it, as I will for you. But I don't know. I feel like we'll see if it worked out. I do have to say, I feel a little bit better about my 2023 predictions as well. So I'm feeling stronger this year about these than I did about last year's.
I'm looking forward to hearing yours. It was a fun exercise, as it always is. And I won't do any spoilers, but let's go ahead and look back at our previous 2022 predictions. So I'm looking at our little reference sheet we made, and you're at the top of it. So do you want me to start with reading this, or do you want to read your first prediction?
No use in delaying the inevitable. Let's do it. Let's start with mine.
Your first prediction was a continued shift toward premiumization through limited and specialized offerings. I remember when you said that on the previous episode. I said it sounded like the beginning of a presentation at Diageo. I was really impressed with your big business words there. So
how do you knew feel all the buzzwords? Yeah.
How do you feel you did on this prediction?
Well, so here's the thing. It's really vague, right?
I think I gave you a little grief about kind of the lack of specificity on some of these,
which can be a good thing because hey, the wider your prediction, the less likely it's going to be wrong. And so from that angle, I feel okay about it. I feel like we did see a continued shift towards premiumization, and I do think we did see more limited and special offerings. So I'm totally on point with this one, but I also feel like it's kind of a gimme. And, so I don't feel great. I don't feel like I can call this one a super win.
You're not taking a victory lap on this one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I do think we have continued to see that Rum's growth has been coming from not to get all too markety business speak, that this podcast won't be full of that, but the premium sector of rum, like the high end rum market, is kind of where the category is growing, as opposed to the lower end of it. So I do think we've seen that, and I think listeners, just from casual, anecdotal observations, it kind of feels that way.
Right.
But I'd actually be interested in if anyone thinks it doesn't feel that way. But I remember another thing we did last year was when one of us made a prediction, the other one said whether we were buying, holding, or selling on the prediction. So kind of like as if the prediction were a stock. And I bought your prediction, and so I'm right there with you. I think a little hard to tell how correct this was or wasn't because of the broadness, but perhaps doing this last year, perhaps that informed your picks for 2023.
I think it's a good place for us to start, and hopefully we're growing now into more specific. And with yours, we'll start with yours. I do think you got a little more pointed. So your first one, I guess I'll take over and read your first one from last year, which I bought. Just to say up front, I bought this. And that was a serious investment in local sugarcane production from a major producer is going to happen. And clearly, I feel like you were playing inside baseball with this one or something. I don't know. Did you have any information?
Like insider knowledge?
Yes. Like, did you have any inside knowledge track on this? Because clearly there was at least one major producer who did this.
I do not recall knowing anything about. So the
you sound like you're running for office. I do not recall.
I'm not going to directly answer the question, John. No. So the thing that happened that I am going to say allows for this prediction to be correct was Mount Gay's move. Mount Gay announced that they invested, I think it was about $20 million in the construction of a new sugar mill, which they are going to use to supply, like most sugar mills, they don't exist to make molasses. They exist to make sugar, you know? But kind of the big purpose of this mill, and it might produce some sugar as well, but the big focus is high quality molasses production. And I assume there will be some other things they get out of it as well. And I know in your reading of it there, at the top of the prediction, I did say local sugarcane production. However, as I went into it deeper, I said this could be things like molasses, you know, other stuff. So I'm including this within it. And I am like 99% sure I did not know that was happening with Mount Gay. Because I think when I saw the news, I was like, holy shit, that's huge. Like that's that, you know, I wasn't even connecting it to the prediction. It was just like, we talk about molasses production and how tricky that can be, especially for larger producers all the time. And so a producer, and I'm not sure that they're ever going to be able to produce 100% of the molasses they need for all of their production locally, but this will certainly increase what they can do locally. And it just like now they're more, to use a very businessy term, they're more vertically integrated. You know, they've got the supply chain from the start.
Synergy.
Exactly. There's all kinds of synergies going on. But so that's the one I look at and say, like, this is the kind of thing I was talking about. And you know, they've also made investments in sugarcane as well. But to me, that was the kind of major thing I was thinking we might see in terms of a big producer like Mount Gay doing something to allow them to have more localized ingredients and more ownership of those.
Yeah. I mean, and the difference it makes there, I mean, we're not going to feel that from Mount Gay for a while, but I just think the amount of control they're going to be able to have in that part of the process of rum making now is just going to be a big difference maker. So,
I'm sure there's all kinds of things that are going to come out of that we can't even anticipate at this point, you know? So it's really exciting, and I know they're excited about it down there as well. So I'm chalking that up as my biggest W from last year's predictions. So that's the one I probably feel best about. So, okay, we're going to go to your next prediction. John's second prediction. There will be a marked trend from hobbyists towards drinking younger and or unaged options. I believe you said that will kind of be, quote, all the rage. And I bought this for hobbyists. I held on it for the general public, but you were more talking about hobbyists anyway. So how do you feel this prediction panned out? What do you think?
So I will stop short of saying it was all the rage, but I will take a small W because I do feel like we did see a lot of younger blends and or minimum age statements that weren't very high in number come out. I'm thinking of the Papillon series or Papalin and others that I think you saw that happen, and there was more discussion around those rums than I feel personally that I've seen in past years, in previous years. That's probably going to change for different people's experience based on where they're at and, you know, all that kind of thing. But for me, I will say that I do feel like it did trend for hobbyists younger. That doesn't, you know, we also saw things come out like Barbados 2002 and a Fiji older than we've seen. Right. So it doesn't mean that category didn't also see interesting new things, but I do think there was some of that there. So I will, again, I'm going to take a small W for this one, I think, is what I feel like. How do you feel about it?
What do you consider to be, like, if someone says this is a younger age release, like, around what year amount does it become that's not so much young anymore?
You know, that's a great question, because we talk about all the different factors that can play into an aging of a rum too. So it's not always playing apples to apples and everything, depending on tropical aging and depending on continental. So I guess to answer your question though, I would put that, I'm going to say like it's certainly in the single digits. But I'm going to say something like 7 years, 8 years.
Okay, interesting.
Maybe 9. Yeah, something around there.
Because in my mind, I was kind of thinking around, kind of like in our previous episode, we did our picks for 2022. We have the category that's 5 years or less.
Yes.
And that window is kind of what I was thinking. But then you said Papillon, and I was like, I think that was 7 years, but which it was. But young is kind of a subjective descriptor. So I do think like things. I feel like if you look at the flagship releases from bigger brands, there are a lot of 8-year releases. There's like Appleton 8, Doorly's has an 8, Eldorado has an 8. And so I feel like less than 8 is kind of a number less than 8 is to me where I guess it's sort of on the younger side, and like extra points if it's under 5. If it's under 5 years, that's like truly young. And I feel like harder traditionally for brands to market, people see a number less than 5 and they're like, ew.
Yeah. I would amend it to 5 and younger, I would say, because I think 5 is included in that. For me, at least, again, it's subjective. I still think 7 is on the younger side. But to your point, I agree. It's definitely less than 8, but 5 seems about, for sure, like 5 seems less controversial. I guess, is what I would say.
All right.
But so like I said, I'll take the small W, and I agree with you. It definitely was more in the hobbyist than in the general public.
Okay. So let's move on. What's next? What did I predict next, John?
All right. So your second prediction was another independent bottler outside of Europe is going to step into the spotlight in rum enthusiast circles. Wow, I think you nailed this one.
See, I didn't feel as strongly about this one as the previous one. I do think kind of the comparison we made with this was like something along the lines of a Holmes key, right? I would say in the second half of 2022, we did see Down Island Spirits come in, Raising Glasses at the end of the year. There's also another IB I started seeing this year a little bit. I haven't encountered any of their releases in person, but one called Rare Cane, which is another American independent bottler that actually I learned about through Mike Hooker, who was a Rumcast listener and bought a few of their rums, founder of the Austin Rum Society down there in Texas. But anyway, so I feel like all of those, they broke onto the scene. But they're not as far along as I was expecting one to be, just because like it was like the second half of the year. I think they're going to get there, in terms of popularity, but I don't think the wave crested yet, last year. So I count it as like a half. Like I give if a solid win is like worth 1 point, I give myself like a 0.5 for this prediction.
Okay. I'd give you more than that. I'd give you like 0.75.
You're so generous. 0.75.
I mean, the latter half of the year is still the year, right?
It's true.
So,
true.
I get you're right. I don't think they are fully, up there yet, but I mean, clearly made waves, and people are looking for them, and they're respected bottlings.
Yeah.
So, from that angle, I would say yes. So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take it. I'll take the 0.75 points. So let's do these last two. Let's run through these quickly and then get into the real stars of the show, our predictions for 2023. Your final prediction of 2022, this was a big one. This was the only prediction that I sold on. I wasn't having this one. You said the beginning of the end of misleading age statements.
Yeah.
I feel like we need like the like, triple air horn sound.
So here's what in my head, and I'm trying to bring myself back to my mental state a year ago, was remembering the lawsuit.
Sound like your mental state a year ago, like you were like things were horrible a year ago, is how it makes it sound like.
Well, I mean,
you were okay at the time. You weren't making these predictions like under duress or anything.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it like that. I meant just like in terms of like what was I even thinking with this? And I remember reading about the lawsuit, and I don't want to talk too much about that because it gets into weird territory. But it's a Zacapa lawsuit that was against them,
a class action lawsuit.
Right, the class action. And I was thinking, well, that might cascade, and that did not happen for sure. But I do think there's still that kind of grassroots type of. Certainly amongst hobbyists, but even, starting to make its edges felt with other people about misleading age statements. So although I don't know that I would say this is a win, I wouldn't call this last year the beginning of the end of misleading age statements. I would say there was maybe minor progress towards it. So maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year, maybe it's 5 years from now. But I was watching a program about World War I recently, and
wow, where are you going with this?
Hold on, I'll get you there.
It's a heck of a transition.
Yeah. It's like, well, when do you say World War I began? And you can say, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, right? And that's what most people will say. But there's differences from different countries in terms of when they say if it's 1915 to 1917 or 1914 to 1918. Well, some of these things, it's hard to pinpoint, right? Exactly when. And that's where my point is here, is just to say, if we look back 20 years from now, when is the beginning of the end of misleading age statements and what year is it in? That might be hard to do.
Maybe you saw the first domino this year, but we can't see that yet because we haven't seen everything else that's going to happen.
Yes, I'm thinking of that meme online with the little domino.
Yeah, the tiny domino.
There goes the bigger. Yeah, so maybe the tiny domino. Maybe. We'll see. The jury is out still.
Yeah, so. We can't say that you were wrong until it's been 20 years from now, is
I like
what I'm
that
getting.
idea.
We need 20 years to play this prediction out.
Minimum. We'll celebrate with a 20-year-old rum that's being distilled right now, and we'll talk about this then.
You were smart with how you did your predictions. I was not smart with how I did my final prediction, which was maybe too specific. What did I lay out there for my last prediction, John?
All right, Will, for your third prediction and final prediction from last year, you said we are going to see an ECS release with a name that breaks new ground, and we will have the first 9-syllable ECS release. First of all, points for specificity there with the amount of syllables involved. And this was an easy sell for me.
You did sell.
Of course, it was, yeah. I think you were more than half joking with this, but I get it. It's fun to speculate on the names of ECS releases forthcoming.
This was a high risk, high reward.
Yeah, I feel like it went the other way almost, though. Like Touchstone, Sovereignty, those are words we know.
Is Touchstone on shelves yet? It didn't hit shelves in 2022, did it?
No, you're right.
It does have 2022 on like the date, so I think it was bottled in 2022. But I think our 2022 ones were Sovereignty and Isonomy. Maybe another one. Those two were definitely in 2022, right?
Yeah, for sure. Those two. And isonomy is a really weird word, but falling short of your syllabic prediction.
It's not even getting close to 9 syllables. So yeah, I listed a few ideas for some of those. I think one of them was something like latitudinarianism or something like that. And I just thought, like, what if I called the shot, and one of those actually was the names? How legendary would that prediction be?
That would have been fantastic. Yeah.
People around the rum nerd circles would be calling me, the new Nostradamus. So
we had a listener actually contact us on Instagram when Touchstone, there was a new picture of it that came out that I think Richard posted. And he was like, "Oh my God, you guys predicted this name." And I was like, no, we didn't predict that name. That was we were in the TTB looking through and we saw it coming up. So I wish we could give you the credit for having predicted Touchstone, but no.
Wow, yeah. We discussed that in one of our bonus episodes for patrons. That was also when I revealed my grading rubric for determining whether I'll buy a Foursquare ECS release or not. So
that's right.
My own little rubric. But yeah, we did not predict the name Touchstone. We just analyzed it thoroughly on a bonus episode once we saw that it was coming out. So anyway, ex-bourbon and ex-cognac maturation. People are going to be looking forward to that one. The first ex-cognac Foursquare ECS since Dominus. So
yes,
big
and
news.
Blue this time. Blue font.
And blue, yes.
Yeah.
Blue. It's a very pretty, shiny blue on that label. I like
metallic.
It a lot.
Yeah.
But on the note of things coming out in 2023, John, I think we should take a quick break and then come back and run through these 2023 predictions, which hopefully we're a year older, we're a year wiser, we're another year through doing predictions for the first time. We learned a few lessons and we're going to apply them. You're going to see it all coming up next. Hey Rumcasters, do you want an easy way to stay informed about what's new in the rum industry? If so, check out therumlab.com, where you can stay on top of everything going on across the rum world right now. From their detailed infographics that dive deep into individual rum expressions, to their weekly rum newsletter, to live streams with leaders in rum, there's always something new to learn. Plus, you can get all the info on their annual rum events they put on across the United States, like Miami Rum Congress, New York Rum Fest, Chicago Rum Fest, LA Rum Fest, and San Francisco Rum Fest. So visit therumlab.com and sign up for their newsletter now so you don't miss anything that's happening in rum. That's therumlab.com. Now back to the show.
All right, we're back, and it is time for our predictions for 2023. So, just like last year, Will, we're each going to make 3 predictions, and we'll trade off going one each. And then we should, I think, continue the tradition of the stocks and buying, selling, or holding on these.
Love it.
For
Let's
each
do
other.
it.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple concept. So I think we can do that and move forward. So since I went first last year, I think it's
You're
only
very
right,
brave.
Will.
Yeah.
Only right that you go first this year.
All right.
And forevermore, odd years you will go first, and even years I will go first.
Oh, cool. I like odd years, even though I was born on an even year. But there's just something about those odd years. They're great. Plus, 2020 was an even year, and we all hated 2020. So there we go.
Yes. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. 2022 wasn't bad though.
It was a solid year.
Yeah, we got back on track with it, is what I think. So I like it. I'm good. All right, let's go for it.
My first prediction for 2023. I think we are going to see a small spike in the release of rums straight from producers. So I'm not including really independently bottled releases here, but straight from producer rums that feature multiple outputs of the sugarcane plant. Instead of, we have molasses-based rums, we have cane juice-based rums. Every now and then you see some that
cane
feature
syrup.
Maybe a combination of both.
Oh, okay.
That maybe feature cane syrup or something like that, mixed with juice. We've seen a little sprinklings of that in recent years. And I think 2023, we're going to see a bump in those types of releases. And so to make this easier to grade, I'm going to say we will see 3 to 5 releases this year that feature more than just molasses or just cane juice. We're going to see some combination. And this prediction is connected to last year's prediction about a major investment in local sugarcane. Because what we're seeing, even distilleries that aren't making, $20 million Mount Gay-sized investments, they're making their own smaller but significant investments in things like growing sugarcane. That's something Foursquare has been doing. And we saw releases from them in, this may have been the year before last that it came out, or it might not have come out until last year, but like the LFT Foursquare White, which was molasses rum, it was cane juice rum. We've also seen St. Lucia Distillers has done a number of releases featuring both, and they've been kind of ahead of the game in growing sugarcane locally there that they use to make their fresh cane juice rum. We've also seen, Worthy Park has done some cane juice rum. Providence, which we had on the podcast recently, they've done some stuff with both syrup and juice. And so as distilleries do things to give themselves more access to a sugarcane source, I just think we're going to see more creativity. Just like, and I hate that I'm making this comparison because it doesn't really need to, I'm making it for modern purposes. Because I think it's a helpful analogy. The whiskey category has mash bills,
Oh, okay. I see
this as kind of similar to that, but there's historical precedence for this because if you go back and look at writings about rum, made well over 100 years ago in Jamaica, molasses sometimes was like a small part of the wash. There's skimmings from juice, there's dunder, there's all kinds of stuff. I can't remember where I saw the recipe, but it was like the rum wash was like 20% molasses. Like that's it. And all the rest was other sugarcane stuff or dunder and things like that. So I think as these distilleries get closer to the source, the sugarcane source, they're going to be able to do all kinds of fun things that they haven't been able to do in the past. And so I think this is the year we're going to start to see a few more of those things. And this is one I will also say, like, I'm hoping for, because just that concept, and I feel like the amount of variety and unexpectedness and delightful little things like that LFT White, for example, which was delicious and just surprising, kind of unexpected, and yet felt like Foursquare still. So I hope we see this at some point, and I'm going to go ahead and predict that 2023, we'll see a smattering of these releases, and they will be very exciting. Did I sell you? Did I sell you?
Well, first of all, I'm with you in the wish of it. I do think it's really cool, and I'm hoping to see it. As far as the prediction goes, I'm of two minds.
I don't like what I'm hearing, John. I don't like where this is going.
Well, so the first portion of this is, I think you're on the low side with 3 to 5. It's not a super high bar, like 3 releases. I think that could be done. So I'm with you there. I kind of I follow you there and think, okay, that's not a ton of different releases.
Not insurmountable.
Right. So I get that. But then on the other side, here's what my brain is thinking. My brain is thinking, well, yes, to all you just said about connecting it back to all these distillers and producers doing their own sugarcane, but is it ready yet?
Yeah,
are they going to age it? And if they're aging it, now you're talking about, a few years from now, still minimum, if they're just really starting out before things start to hit the market as aged product. So, of course, you mentioned the LFT, and there's probably going to be other unaged releases. Do we see 3 unaged or very young rums in 2023 in this way? That's where I'm kind of like,
well, how I'm thinking about it is, because it's a blend, you can be younger with some parts of it and older with other parts.
That's true.
These distilleries are going to have plenty of old rum in, whatever they're already doing, like molasses, for example. Yeah. And I know the last time we talked to Richard Seal at Foursquare, he said we were surprised. I think he had barrels of cane juice rum that were like 3 or 4 years old already at that point. And I was like, wow, you started this that long ago. And if I'm getting those years wrong, that's possible. But it wasn't like he just started putting it in barrels, a year ago. So, and, when I look at St. Lucia Distillers, they've been putting cane juice in some of those blends for a while now. And, Worthy Park, I know they've got some cane juice stuff. So, but that's the trick. The kind of the calculus of what are they planning for? When are they going to find the right combination? And yeah, so that's why I'm trying to keep it a little on the low end. But I think even if we did only see 3 of these, if they were from prominent brands and there was some excitement behind them, it wouldn't take that many for that concept to suddenly be like, oh wow, like this could be the future, Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. We could be seeing that turning point, and so that's why I'm kind of putting it around 3 to 5 releases.
Okay. I was gonna hold, but you've sold me on a buy.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm going to buy this, and there's actually a reason connected to it, but I cannot reveal it yet.
Oh,
so as we talk about our predictions, I will hearken back to this moment, and I
love hearkening back. Yeah,
why I'm going to buy your prediction here. So yeah, I'm in the buy category for it. You got me.
Well, I'm feeling proud of myself for winning you over there. So what do you have for me? What is your first prediction of 2023?
All right. Well, I like to do themes, as you know.
Yeah.
And I've got a theme for my predictions here for 2023, and my theme is more. So,
this sounds like another presentation for the board of directors. Sales theme for the quarter this year
is more.
More. MOAR more.
Yes, exactly. Like the Star Wars. I forget the guy's name right now. More.
Yeah.
So I think my first one here, like Billy Idol, will with a rebel yell, I'm crying more, 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 and we're gonna see unaged rum sales in the U.S. shoot up over 10%, 10% or over, at least.
10% of what? Or like the increase is going to be 10%?
Correct.
10% growth is what you're
10%
predicting.
growth versus last year. So let me try that again. Unaged rum sales will be up 10% over last year in the US. And also, I believe they're going to grab a bigger percentage of the overall market share for the rum category versus aged rums, at least among hobbyists.
Wow.
So,
wait, okay. My head is spinning right now. I have so many questions.
Okay, well, let me explain a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
So the reason why I believe this is a sound prediction is because, first of all, I think there's always a little bit of a market lag in the sense of when things start to come to market, they need a little time to gain acceptance.
Yeah.
And I think the Haitian Clarins have been out now to market for a while. Rivers, Antoine, there's others that I could name that are unaged that are just coming out in the last few years. And I think they're starting to gather a following.
Yeah, they came out and they were just like kicking ass and taking names, punching people in the face. And at first people were just like, what is going on? And now it's like they've been here long enough. It's like, right. Okay, wow. Now that I picked my jaw up off the floor, yeah.
Yeah, they're carving out a space for themselves is what I believe is happening. And I don't want to, say another category of spirit, like I'm thinking like tequilas or agave spirits here has its own space for that. I mean, I kind of feel like that's happening to a certain degree with rum, where we've always known, I mean, unaged rum has been a thing forever in many places and many cultures, but the US I think is kind of not as much.
Especially when it comes to consuming it on its own.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe we're seeing that gain momentum, and we're going to see that gain momentum in 2023. You're seeing more agricoles coming out. Demoiselle, like we talked about in our Rum Rumblings, is releasing unaged products. I think you're going to get more coming to market, and I think the ones that have already been to market are established enough to carve out their own space that they're going to have bigger market share overall versus the aged rums. I don't know what that is going to work itself out to be, but I'm trying to give you enough specificity here, Will, with this, rather than what I did last year with being very broad, so that we can really put it against the test when we come back 12 months from now.
I love it. So I have two questions. One of them is, you said unaged rum. Do you mean truly unaged rum, or are you also including aged and filtered, quote unquote, white rums?
No, I was thinking unaged rums.
Okay.
Because for me, it's not that you can't do sipping white rums. I mean, there are good sipping white rums out there, I think, but less so. I feel like those get used a lot more in cocktails and mixology.
You're talking about the examples that you listed, like the Clarins.
Correct.
And yeah, okay.
Yes. So that's what I'm talking about.
So my second question is, the second part of that prediction, you said something about comparing it to aged rum, and I got a little bit lost. Can you run through that again?
Yeah. So what I mean is, if the entire rum category of all rum, what counts as rum, is 100% of the pie, right? And then you would have an unaged rum that's traditionally accounted for, and I have no idea right now, I didn't do the market research, but let's just say it's traditionally accounted for 20% of overall rum sales. And aged rums, no matter what age they are, could be blend, it could be long age, could be short age, have been 80% of the market.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm trying to say is, you will see, and I believe you might have even seen this in 2022, but I didn't really find the research with it, is that percentage of unaged rums versus aged rums as an overall number, that they're taking up more of that piece of pie.
Are you saying they will be like greater than 50% of the pie?
No. I'm not saying they're going to be the dominant. What I'm saying is, if they were last year 20%, this year they would be 25% versus. So if you look at 100% of the rum pie, right? What's the split of unaged versus aged rum that's sold?
Right.
Now, it's not, so if it was $100 million overall, it might be $120 million overall this year. I'm not saying those numbers. I'm saying the percentage of unaged versus aged will be different, with unaged being a greater piece of that.
Greater than last year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're saying overall, there will be at least 10% growth for that category.
In the category itself. Correct.
Okay.
So it's got two qualifiers.
Are you seeing the 10% growth in gross sales numbers, or is it going to be like units?
Ooh, God, I didn't even think of that. Now I don't know what the real, like, this.
You know what? You're getting so specific with this that I'll say you could apply the 10% growth to either one of those, and I'd still give you credit for the prediction. So
that's fair. Thank you.
Let's roll with that. And yeah, we just have to figure out how to track that, I think. So I'll leave
There's
it to you.
There's got to be a place.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you to dig out those sources. But yeah.
Well, and anybody out there that's listening and can help me out as to a site of where to go to track rum sales in the U.S.
Oh yeah,
would love to know where that is, because that would just be fascinating for everything. So
email us host at rumcast.com, host at rumcast.com. Yeah. Okay, oh boy, I'm really at odds with myself here, because this is one I would love to buy this. This is something I think it would be great if this happened, because that's a great style of rum and it's underappreciated and it deserves to be more appreciated. But I call myself sometimes the not optimist on this show, John.
There's a word for that,
Pessimist sounds so negative, though. I prefer I'm not optimistic.
Okay. So let's start here. Do you believe there is going to be growth in the category?
Yes.
If you don't, then that's a sell.
No,
okay.
I do.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to be at those unaged premium releases, like we've been seeing across the whole category.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to hold on this. I'm going to hold on this because I think there will be growth. I think there will be growth. I don't know that it will be as big as you're thinking it will be. So yeah, I'm splitting the difference between optimism and pessimism here, and I'm just going to hold and say,
okay,
there will be some, but not as much as you think there will be.
I don't blame you, because that's probably my thought too, but there's something about a 10% number that I like, double digits, and I want to see that double digit. Yeah, so let's see if it makes it there.
All right.
Moving
awesome.
on to your second prediction here.
My second prediction, this is a distillery I just talked about previously in my first prediction, but, several years ago, John, we saw something happen with St. Lucia Distillers where, those lovely Hamilton, St. Lucia releases. You just talked about one in our year in review episode. There were, a lot of wonderful St. Lucia Distillers independently bottled releases. And then suddenly most of them were gone because St. Lucia Distillers chose to stop, selling as much rum and things like that to third party providers, to independent bottlers. And I think we're going to see something similar like that happen in 2023. I'm not going to name a specific producer, but I just think there's going to be a producer of significance. So someone that's already, a household name with rum enthusiasts that has a history of, independent bottlers releasing stuff from them. I think we're going to see another one pull back the reins there. And I think that's part of the larger trend we've seen, which we've talked about on the show a lot of these distilleries owning their brands for the first time really in their history, which is something that historically didn't happen a lot in the Caribbean. And I think as those brands mature and those distilleries get more experience, putting out their own brands, I think at some point, there's kind of a cost benefit analysis of, I think selling casks and things to other people to release as their own. Obviously there's probably good money in doing that. But at some point, it's also, it could be argued you're competing with yourself to an extent,
Yeah.
And it's also ceding some control of your brand as well, because, once you sell it to someone, you might be able to get them to agree like, oh, you can't use our name and things like that. But at the end of the day, a lot of times people know where it comes from, and, someone buys some rum from you and puts a terrible finish on it or something like that comes back on you. So I just think this is going to be, I think over time, I'm not saying independent bottle releases are going away or anything like that. I just think we're going to see the pendulum swing a little bit back in the other direction of some distilleries being like, we're going to pull back on this a little bit. I don't know that they will say like, we're not selling anything to anyone, like we're releasing all of it. But I think the as I was saying, the reins are going to tighten up and to the point that like, rum enthusiasts are going to hear about it, like, oh, I heard so-and-so like isn't, selling as many casks anymore. So,
I mean, my first reaction to this, first of all, when you said cost benefit analysis, I couldn't help but think like this episode of the Rumcast is sponsored by the Wall Street Journal. We've just been very
Microsoft
businessy.
Excel.
So the first thing is similar to the criticism I think you had given me before about non-specific. I want to try to nail you down a little bit more.
Please do, because I've put the screws to you, and I deserve the same treatment.
Good, I agree. But it sounds like you're like, well,
do you know what the best ability is, John?
What's the best ability?
Accountability. Yeah.
That should be on a terrible motivation poster in somebody's office. It probably is right now.
I'm keeping with the business theme with terrible motivational axioms.
Yes. All right. So I guess I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to buy, sell, or hold here, and I'm having a little trouble still because, again, it sounded like you said, here's what I'm hearing from you, is that at least one, but possibly more.
I'm just going to say one, because that's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal for a brand to do that,
And you said a well-known brand. Like, this isn't just, a well-known brand is going to, quote-unquote, pull back on the reins. Meaning what? Meaning they are going to sell half as much?
Yes.
Is there anything? Okay.
Like it'll be significant, like more than half. They will sell less than half of what they're selling now.
Okay. All right.
And I'm thinking about this in terms of casks. So I'm focusing it more on like high end, rum. And the measuring stick for this is I feel like this will be true if before the end of the year we can like openly discuss something like this happening on the show.
Okay.
The information is, because you and I, like, I think we try to have like a high bar for like not saying things that like we hear are going to happen or something like that without like rumors and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be at the point where like enough people have talked about it. It's known enough in the industry that we could like talk about it on the show amongst ourselves.
It's going to be a story is what you're saying. We won't have to dig for it or hunt for it.
There's
going to be a story. Right. Okay. All right. I'm going to hold on this one too. I see your rationale and I kind of agree with it. I just don't know if this is going to be the year for it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm going to hold on it only because I'm in agreement philosophically with what you're saying, but I don't know that this is quite the year for it yet.
Okay. I can live with that.
I guess that's where I'm at with it. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 years we're talking about 2 or 3 of those type of things happening.
Okay. Okay. But I can live with that.
Okay.
And I don't want people to hear that and think like that there's,
oh my God,
you like panic, like, oh, I have to go buy all the stuff. Because I think that's the kind of thing that, the decision would get made now and like you wouldn't really feel the effects for like, I don't know, maybe like 5 years or something like that, because a lot of that rum's already out there, But anyway, that's my second prediction, and I'm sticking to it.
The thing with St. Lucia, as you mentioned also, is it seems like you just can't get St. Lucia anymore at all from something like the main rum company or EAC.
Yeah, I can't speak to what their inventory is. I would be surprised if like they don't have any, but I certainly feel like I can't remember the last independently bottled St. Lucia Distillers release that I saw somewhere. I don't remember what it was. I'm trying to like rack my brain right now, and I can't think of seeing one recently. So
so I don't know that you would feel it even if a well-known producer that Sheer and Maine Rum and maybe others have stocks of already and are still coming out. To your point, for years. So we might see the story though. So I get that. Okay.
Yeah, we shall see. Hit me with your second prediction.
Moving on here in my theme of more, like Britney Spears.
I forgot about the theme already. Yes. By the way, you brought up Billy Idol. Have I ever told you that I saw Billy Idol in concert?
No, I haven't heard this story. Was it a fun one? Did he sweat on you?
I wasn't close enough, but this was at the Bonnaroo Festival when I was a younger man. Bonnaroo does something every year called the Super Jam. And it's like an artist like hosts the Super Jam. They bring in a bunch of other random art, not random, like it's planned, but they bring in other artists. And it was hosted that year by John Oates of Holland Oates.
Oh, okay. And I like Holland Oates. Yeah.
He brought out Jim James from My Morning Jacket, Brittany Howard from Alabama Shakes, which is a band I really love. And then Billy Idol all of a sudden comes out. R. Kelly was also there, which...
Oh, wow.
And now, this was, before a lot of the R. Kelly stuff came out. So now, in hindsight, that's kind of a stain on the concert. Billy Idol and everyone else, they were fantastic, and I just had to bring that up. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've hijacked the conversation, but you were saying...
It goes with the theme of, I said, like Britney Spears, give me more, give me more, because...
I don't even know what Britney Spears song that's from.
You have to be a super Britney Spears fan to know that one, I guess.
Is that like from when she was really popular, or is this like more now like her Vegas residency material?
I wouldn't consider myself a Britney Spears super fan, Will. So I do have 2 daughters who listen to a lot of Britney Spears.
Okay. You probably just picked it up by osmosis.
I've definitely heard the song. But okay, so here's my second prediction. We are going to see more rum age statements of 7 years and younger printed on bottles. Oh. So this is related to my last year's prediction. You had one that was kind of related. This is related to my prediction, but more specific.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to get at here is I think the larger and more pervasive use of tropical aging, the coming rise of virgin oak being used like in Privateer and in SBS releases that we heard from 1423 is doing, that we're going to see really stellar tasting aged rums being released at lower aging counts and not have any of that pejorative sense that they may have had in previous years, where it felt like if it wasn't over 12 years, why bother? And again, we talked about how those ages can differ, for it's subjective and different people will find that. But my point with this is it's no longer going to be seen as negative just because something is aged for only 7 years or 5 years and looked down upon by outsiders. Hobbyists, I think we've been on to this for a while now, and a lot of hobbyists are good with this, but people who are maybe on the fringes of rum or casual rum drinkers have maybe seen less years as equaling less quantity, equaling less quality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of going to start going away.
So I really like this prediction overall. I think the one area I would differ a little bit is I don't see the casual spirits consumer. I don't see them all of a sudden this year being the year that like they realize that younger age statements can be good. I think that's the kind of thing that takes like years and years to shift attitudes on that, because that's so pervasive in how spirits are marketed across all categories. Like we're programmed to think high number equal good. Yeah. So I think I don't see that happening this year. I like the prediction of we will see like more rums released with a prominent age statement, 7 years or less.
Yes.
I would buy that prediction. I could see that happening. And I do think, like you said, I think there's already momentum with enthusiasts. I still think there's probably over-indexing on age statements, even with enthusiasts. But I do think that because what we know rum producers are capable of achieving at younger ages, I do think that's something we could start to see more of, because like they know it's good. As you mentioned, aging in the tropics in high temperatures produces a different result. The results you can get are a lot different, and you often don't need more than 6 or 7 years to get something tasting well aged.
Exactly.
So I like the idea. I want this one to come true, and I think you're going out on a limb, so I don't think it's given at all. But I want to be on that limb with you, so I'm going to buy. This one.
Well put. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so we're together with that one. Good.
Yeah. I will say, how will we know this happened? Is there a certain number of releases you want to put on that? Because I think that's a good measuring stick. Every prediction needs a measuring stick.
You're right. And I just said more than, and I meant more as in like in the last couple of years have been released. But I don't know what that number is. I'm going to say, what do you say, 4 or 5?
Okay. Yeah.
5?
Yeah.
So at least 5 rums with age statements of 7 years or younger highlighted. Okay. All right. I like it.
And when you say highlighted, I'm imagining something where like you're walking through the store and you can see that, like you notice the number.
Right.
It's not just like on the back of a bottle with like age 4 year. Okay. All right.
That's
we're on the same page.
What I mean.
Yes. We're on the same page. Because that's something I feel like you don't see that often.
Agree. Agree.
The one distinction I want to make here, and because I could imagine a lot of confused listeners at home right now, but I don't think this is what you're talking about, because when you go into the store, you will see a lot of like Real McCoy 3, Real McCoy 5, Appleton. Actually 8 is the first age statement. So we do see like 5, like Havana Club 3, for example. You're not talking about those kinds of rums, which are really designed for mixing purposes. Yep. You're talking about stuff that will be purchased by rum enthusiasts as something
that it can be very easily sipped on its own and enjoyed for its aging on its own.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was imagining too. I just wanted to make that distinction for.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, I think that's important actually. Thank you for making that, because yes, that's where my thoughts are going with this. It's not counting those which are already good established products in those age ranges, but and that's not to say there's going to be probably people out there saying, well, I sipped this, El Dorado 8 or whatever it is, and that's fine. I'm not discounting that, but I don't know that they have the perception amongst the majority of people for being an aged sipping rum in that way. Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
That's where I'm going. Yeah.
All right. So I think this is going to become a tradition for me, where with my third prediction, I'm just going to have fun with it and really go out on a limb. Okay. Last year, it was the 9-syllable Foursquare ECS release. This one isn't quite as unbelievable.
10-syllable Foursquare. No.
10-syllable. I'm going with the more theme.
Nobody will do that.
Yeah.
9 syllables. It's 9 syllables.
Okay, so as we have seen in recent years, we all know celebrity investments are something that happen a lot in spirits. And we've been
Okay.
seeing tons of those across all categories. It's almost like if you're a certain level of fame as an athlete or a
obligatory.
musician or an actor, you have to have a tequila or a whiskey or a gin. But lately we've started to see a few celebrity associated rums. We have Selva Ray, which is co-owned by Bruno Mars. Sierra became a co-owner of 10 to 1 rum last year, which we had a great conversation with Mark Farrell, 10 to 1 founder, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then
she should have done Sierra Mist. I mean, that was the obvious one, but fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that she's in rum. Rum is better than Sierra Mist. So also, I think Sammy Hagar has a rum. I think he's had that for a while.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, so I think in 2023, I wanted to say I think we're going to see a major celebrity rum investment, but that didn't feel like going far enough because I could see that easily happening. Like there are already a few. We saw one happen last year. But what we haven't seen very much, we haven't seen very many instances of a celebrity who is originally from a rum producing country creating a brand that features rum sourced from that country.
Okay.
And I even checked up on all those celebrities I just mentioned. And that, as far as I know, as far as I could tell, that isn't there with those brands.
Okay.
So I think we will see at least one of those. And I want to go as far as predicting who we will see.
Whoa. Okay.
So I'm going to allow myself 3 shots at this. Okay.
I'll allow it.
Is that allowable?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So here they are. And I've gone all along the age spectrum here. So my first guess, I'm going to keep it with a young crowd. Someone who is very cool right now, very globally, extremely popular musician.
Mr. 305.
A young man from Puerto Rico.
Oh, is it?
By
is
the
it
name
really?
Of Bad Bunny. Wait, who did you say?
I was close. I said Mr. 305, which is Pitbull. I got pretty close.
I thought Pitbull was Mr. Worldwide.
Well, he is both, I guess, because, I don't know. I don't follow these things.
We sound so out of our depth right now.
I only know because I'm in Miami, but
I'm going with Bad Bunny, who is from Puerto Rico, has exploded in popularity. And I was doing a little Bad Bunny rum research as I was considering which celebrities to predict. And I found this excerpt from a Rolling Stone article published in 2020.
Okay.
It says, this is starting with a quote. He said, "I don't consider myself a person who has vices," said Bad Bunny, who's maintained a strict diet in quarantine, save for the occasional indulgence of rum.
Oh.
So, I mean, the fact that he was already from Puerto Rico, rum is such a, big part of drinking culture in Puerto Rico. I figured there was a chance he liked rum, or at least, was exposed to it. Yeah. But I have confirmation there that even though he's not one for vices, he indulges occasionally in rum. And, I could easily see Distillería Serrayes has already done other brands outside of the Don Q brand, right? So what's stopping them from linking up with Bad Bunny and doing like that would be a hit, I can just see it already exploding.
I mean, maybe I shudder to think what that bottle label looks like, but I could see it, and maybe I don't know. I feel like all his songs that I've heard all have vices in them that he talks about. So that's a silly position for him to have.
I don't speak enough Spanish to always know what's being discussed, but I have to go back and check the lyrics. But
my Spanish is just good enough to get most of things wrong in Spanish. All right. So who knows? But
okay, so that's
a good one. Okay.
That's my first prediction. My next one, I'm going to go to the island of Barbados, and I'm going to predict a celebrity-owned brand of Barbados rum from Rihanna.
Rihanna. I figured this was going to be Rihanna.
Yeah, I figured you would get that one.
Yeah.
I looked for some rum-related Rihanna stuff, and I couldn't find that much, which discouraged me a little bit. But then I did find, I can't remember what magazine it was in, but she supplied her own rum punch recipe to the magazine. I think she was working on a cookbook or something. And so it was kind of like to promote that. And so I was like, okay, so again, a sign of rum. But couldn't you see, Rihanna getting in the room with Richard Seal and just being like, you know, what have you got? What can we do together? You know, Foursquare's already done the Real McCoy brand, which is a partnership. Can't you just see the synergy there?
I can totally say I can see the music video right now that they have, rum raining down and they're under their umbrellas,
right?
To shield themselves from it. Yep,
I'm sure Richard Seal's a big Rihanna guy, don't you think? Can't you picture him listening to Rihanna?
I feel like they hang out all the time. They must, right?
Okay, so that's my second one. My last one, I'm going totally far afield. I'm not even going in the Caribbean, and I'm actually bringing in a Nashville a Nashville prediction.
Okay.
I am doing one of Nashville's power couples here. You know, we have a big music industry here in Nashville, and we have, you know, country musicians from all over the world, John. One of whom
it's a pretty big deal there. Yeah,
is from Australia, a guy named Keith Urban.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Married a famous actress named Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman, right? Yeah.
And, you know, they maintain a residence somewhere around Nashville. They're seen in town. They both happen to be from Australia. So what I am envisioning here is an Australian-sourced rum, you know, maybe from a Bentley or something like that, that is released here as a partner, as a kind of a co-branded celebrity release from both Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. So much celebrity power from two different sides of the celebrity spectrum there.
Right, exactly. And different industries,
I don't know what this release would look like, but I do think it will be from an Australian distillery that isn't Bundaberg. I think that's one thing I can, you know, rest assured on. And, you know, I think it'll be something aged. That's what I'm envisioning. But I think they're going to bring another side of Australia to the American market over here and become the face of Australian rum, the faces of Australian rum.
I think that would be fantastic to do that. You're in whiskey country there, though, so I would think you would want something that competes with that profile.
But it's something different. It's something different from whiskey that they're bringing. But they've got, you know, they've got the country music connection there to kind of get some, you know, credibility with the, you know, the whiskey drinkers around here. So they're coming in and they're doing their own thing, John. They're putting Australian rum on the map.
Okay. All right. So now it's up to me on whether I mean, the easy thing to do here is sell the shit out of this, right? But you know what?
That's what Keith, Nicole, Bad Bunny, and Rihanna will be doing. They'll be selling the shit out of their new rum brands. This is what's going to be happening.
You know what? Yeah, I like the thought of this happening in some way. So you know what? Fuck it. We'll do it live. I'm gonna buy this.
All right.
I'm buying it. We're going for it. We're gonna do this together.
I don't even know if celebrity-owned brands are like a good thing for spirits. I'm just trying to have fun with this. And again, if this actually happened, much like the Foursquare 9-syllable prediction, it would be like the ultimate prediction. So
it would be.
I'm willing to take
that one right.
I'm willing to take the big L at the, you know, possible reward that I might have a huge win. So that's my final prediction. I'm really eagerly awaiting yours now.
Well, number one, I have to say that was a really well done job of making it fun, because mine is the opposite of this. Mine is totally not fun, and now I kind of wish I had started.
Taking us back to the classroom?
No. I'm taking us to doom and gloom a little.
Oh, wow. I thought you were supposed to be the optimist.
Well, I am an optimist in certain ways, and in other ways, I'm a realist.
Okay.
And I think this is a dose of realism that's going to hit us all in 2023. The theme of more applies yet again here, but in maybe a different way than you might have been thinking. So I will continue my theme and say, call me the Pointer Sisters, because I'm jumping in with more. If you get that one, you're old like me. There is going to be a minimum of 2, possibly 3, new limited release bottlings in 2023 that are going to have an MSRP of $5.99 or more.
Oh, wow. This is more. This is more, big time. Okay.
So
$5.99 or more.
A minimum of 2. I mean, I wanted to go for 3, but I feel like it's at least 2 brand new releases that have not existed before. This isn't a continuation thing of $5.99 or more. And by the way, these are releases that, you know, because there's the BS releases out there from Bacardi and other places that are very, very, very expensive. I'm not really talking about those as much.
Okay.
I'm talking about, like, amongst our hobbyist distiller type of focused rums that we're going to see these limited high dollar releases happen.
You know what? You sold this as doom and gloom, and I thought you were about to. I thought you were about to predict 2 distilleries going out of business, and I was going to be like, this is terrible. We can't say this right now. I will buy that. I can totally see that happening, and it is something to be bummed out about because, I mean, that's we talked about in our last episode.
Exactly.
Our wishes for 2023 that we would see less releases like that. But I do agree. I think there will be more stuff like that, and I could easily see the bar of 2 being cleared. So I'm going to buy that prediction. Unfortunately, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should push it up to 3, but I just, unfortunately, I feel like that's where the trends are heading. And we've seen recent releases clear $2.99 very easily. I think there's going to be more of that coming. And I think it's kind of the same path that we've been talking about avoiding in bourbon and spirits having to do that. And by the way, I'm not talking about secondary market. I'm talking about primary. The hype cycle, the FOMO, all of that, manufactured limited releases sometimes. And I don't want to accuse anybody necessarily of doing that on purpose, but I don't know. I kind of see it's going to happen. And my wish is that, to your point, Will, from the recent episode, is we don't fall for that. That we try to resist the temptation and the FOMO and look for the releases that we feel are very good to great, but that don't cost us that ridiculous amount of money. Because the more we feed into it and the more people that are buying those, the more it's going to happen. So it's more of a warning than anything, and the hope that as that starts to happen in the market, that we as a rum community don't fall hook, line, and sinker for it.
All right. Well, again, I'm sold on your prediction, which means I'm buying it. It doesn't mean I'm selling it. I'm buying the prediction. So,
thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
You know, I have to say, I feel like we stepped up our game with these predictions this year. I'm feeling good about these. I feel like each of them will know definitively whether it happened or not. And so quick recap here. Our predictions were, I predicted 3 to 5 releases of rums that feature multiple outputs of sugarcane. I predicted 1 major rum distillery is going to heavily pull back on cask sales to third parties. And then I also predicted that either Bad Bunny, Rihanna, or Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban will release their own rum brands featuring rum sourced from Puerto Rico, Barbados, or Australia, respectively. Can you recap your 3 here, John, here at the end?
Mine are that unaged rum sales will be up in double digits over last year's sales, and that they will grab a bigger percentage of the overall rum market share versus aged rums. The second is more rum age statements of 7 years or younger printed on bottles. We said at least 5 more rums released with that 7 years or younger clearly printed on the bottle for an age statement. And then the last one was a minimum of 2 new limited release bottlings in 2023 that are priced MSRP at $5.99 or more.
All right. Those are our predictions. I would love to hear if anyone listening has predictions. Please send them to us. Email us, host@rumcast.com. Send us on messages on social media. But it would be great to have a few more to keep score with and share with listeners and everything. Or tell us what you think of our predictions. If you think they're amazing, if you think they're the worst predictions ever, and how are we even doing this to ourselves on a podcast, embarrassing ourselves like this? We want to hear your reactions. John, how can they message us on social media? That's the best place for people to express their outrage opinions.
That's right. And I'm used to being, having that reaction. So don't worry about it. It's more is fine. At the Rumcast, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can find us on any of those platforms. And we try to get back to people as soon as possible with it and responding. So hit us up there. Leave a comment on some of the stuff that we have already posted. And we love to hear from you in any way, shape, or form we can. So definitely look for us on social media or at the email address. So,
all right, John, 1 year from now, we'll be back here in these spots ready to grade these predictions.
In the hot seat. Yeah.
In the meantime, though, we'll be recording episodes in between that. So that won't be the next episode. So anyway, I'm looking forward to going through the rest of this year. We were just discussing interview targets and things we've got in the works for the next few months. And
one more bonus prediction.
Oh, yeah.
I predict we might hit episode 100 this year.
Oh, how did you figure that? Did you do some math there?
I did the math, and we technically don't, right? If we do, our release schedule has been every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm only talking about our major releases every 2 weeks. If we do that religiously, we don't miss any. We're still at like 96 or something.
Okay.
So we don't get there.
We'll get it to 100.
I think we should get to 100 this year, Will.
Whatever
I think we should
takes.
push it.
I can't wait. We'll have to do something extra special. Anyway, until next time, I look forward to talking to you.
See you then.